I'm Summers with Coldwell Banker. For those of you that don't know me, I am a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Minnesota, and I work primarily the entire Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area. I've been getting a lot of requests from different people asking me to cover certain aspects of real estate in my videos. So today I'm going to tackle one that's a very confusing situation for a lot of people, and it's what to do if you are facing foreclosure. It hasn't ramped up yet, but there is a possibility with the inflation and possible layoffs coming and other things that are going to shift the market, plus the impending recession, that we could start to see some more foreclosures. Having said that, though, I thought, all right, I'm going to answer this question that was sent to me because it is actually probably a very fair topic to cover in case this is something that happens down the road. I haven't done a foreclosure in quite some time because there just hasn't been any. But I did a lot of short sales and I helped a lot of buyers with foreclosures about 10 years ago when the market shifted. And it's been a way for quite some time with this market where we haven't seen many. I do cover this in some of the other videos in detail, but today I want to stay on course and just speak about you as a homeowner if you're possibly facing this. So let's start with the procedure. The first thing that typically happens is you fall behind on your mortgage payment. Sometimes it's 30 or 60 days, sometimes it's 90. Every bank is different. They're going to send you a letter saying, hey, you're behind, you need to get caught up. If you don't pay your mortgage and another 30 to 45 days or maybe 60 goes by, then you get a second notice. At that point, then they usually will say, look, we are going to start foreclosure proceedings on you on this particular day if you don't get caught up. One of the things the banks have to do by law is to put a notice of foreclosure in the newspaper. There's two different ways for a bank to do a foreclosure or foreclose on a property, but the most common one is foreclosure by advertisement. This one is easy for them to do. They still have legal fees that they have to take on, but by advertising for a certain amount of time in the local newspaper that the home is a foreclosure, they're staying within the law. Once they do that, they will set up a sheriff's sale. At the sheriff's sale, someone could come in and bid, but rarely do they win against the bank. The bank basically buys its title or rights to the property. That's what gets the clock ticking. From that point forward, at least in the state of Minnesota, you have 6 months for you to redeem, pay back all of what you owe, any fees that the bank has incurred in this process, and then you're going to be back up to good standing. But let's say you can't do that. Now, within 6 months, once the foreclosure happens, then you're going to get a notice of eviction. Sometimes that comes literally right away after the end of the 6 months. Sometimes I've seen it happen a year later. Every bank is different. I think they're going to be much more in tune to doing it quickly now because there aren't as many for them to do, and they don't feel as overwhelmed as they did when the foreclosure wave happened in 2008, 2009. So that's the general process. You can appeal during any of this time, but once the foreclosure has been completed after that 6-month redemption period, now it's over and you will have to leave the house. Some people in the past have said, well, I don't want my credit to get trashed. That's the main reason when you fall behind, if you are in a situation like this, to do a short sale would be to sell the home off before the foreclosure is done so that you can save some of your credit. Because there are some people who have been foreclosed on that it'll take them 8 to 10 years to be able to purchase another home, but it also affects your credit with everything else, from getting credit cards to trying to get a loan for a car or a student loan, whatever you might need it for. So if there's any way to try to save some of your credit, you want to do that. A short sale is a completely different animal. In that aspect, essentially what you're saying is you go to the bank and say, look, I have this home, I need to sell it. I can't make my payments. Can I sell it for less than I owe on the home, which creates the short? That has to go through a whole committee with the bank and can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months. Some people would try a short sale just literally to slow the process of a foreclosure. This only works if you get to the bank and get them to agree to look at it before they've had the sheriff's sale. Once the sheriff's sale happens, then everything is pretty much in motion at that point. I think the thing a lot of people did from a mistake standpoint in the past is too many waited too long. You know, that old saying that, you know, you if you don't make a decision, you're making a decision. And it's true because you either try to sell your home and get out from under whatever's going on with you financially. And in a situation like this, most people will have equity in their home. You can maybe even come out with a profit versus the bank forcing you into foreclosure because you didn't do anything at all. And by that point, now you're done. So the difference between now and then is back in 2008, 2009, when we had a lot of foreclosures, a lot of people were underwater because they bought the house with literally no money down or very little money down. They had no equity. So they had to sell it for less than what they owe because they owed so much on it. But fast forward 10 years later, now we're looking at a lot of people, especially with the rise in values over the last several years, having a lot of equity in their home. But if you want to fight it till the bitter end, chances are you'll end up on the losing side of it. So be proactive. That's number one. Do the best you can to figure out what you want to do ahead of time so that you regain and keep some of the control that the bank is going to try to take away from you to protect their asset. And give yourself some options. Give yourself a way out. Maybe there's a way you can pay up and you can talk with the bank and get on another payment plan to try to figure it out. It never hurts to have the conversation with the bank and say, look, I'm having problems here. Now, they have done some things where they've deferred the mortgage for 6 months, but a lot of people got caught up in a bad trap with that because they didn't understand what that meant, which is fair. It's not something you do every day. But if you get on some kind of a program with the bank where you don't have to make a payment for 6 months while you get back on your feet, fully expect to not only have the payment you missed, but any extra interest that is added up from that point forward to be added on the back end of your mortgage. So, taking 6 months off, depending on where you are in your mortgage, could literally add 2 or 3 years to your mortgage payments, which is going to be considerably more money out of your pocket in interest payments over time. So there's a lot of different things to consider. It's hard to go much further than this at this point with this because there's so many different scenarios. If you have questions, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to answer any that you have and go into more detail with your specific situation. I hope that this isn't a situation that arises for you, and I certainly hope that this isn't what the future of real estate is going to be in the next several years. But having said all of that, I think if you are proactive and you think about it and you make the choice for you rather than having it made for you, you're going to be in much better shape. I hope some of this made sense and it answered some of the basic questions. Again, Tom Summers, Coldwell Banker. Should you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any of them. Have a great day, and I wish you well.